Welcome to the Bastrop Podcast. Real people, real stories, all from right here in Bastrop, Texas. I'm your host, Matt Walker, a local business owner, realtor, and entrepreneur with Wisdom House Realty Group and Bastrop Drone and Media Company. We sit down with the locals, shaping our community, from the mayor's office to Main Street shops, and bring you the voices behind the town we call home.
All right, so this is the How to Buy a House workshop for first-time buyers workshop for the Bastrop area. So, Jimmy, what is on our agenda today?
Good morning. I'm Jimmy Lomeli, realtor here on the Wisdom House team. And on today's agenda, we got step-by-step. So the first step is going to be the home buying journey, step-by-step. And then part 2, financing your home with Aaron Barnes, renting first or buying now, where to look as far as Bastrop neighborhoods go, why buy with the Wisdom House team. I can go on forever about that. And then your next steps following that.
Awesome. So I am Matt Walker. I am the broker associate and realtor, co-team lead with Leona Walker for Wisdom House Realty Group. We also have Jamie Lomeli, a fantastic realtor on our team, our VA specialist, and a lovely last person is Aaron Barnes, who is not on camera right now. Get yourself on over here, who is with Loan Lab Lending. So yeah, this is who will be guiding you on your journey today. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive on in.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
So the path ahead, right? The home buying journey, step 0, right? Ground 0 is going to be get in contact with somebody here locally on the Wisdom House team, whether it be me, Matt, or any of the other agents. You want to stick with the agents on the Wisdom House team, right? After that, we're going to work on getting you in contact with Aaron Barnes to get you pre-approved, okay? And when you get pre-approved, we're going to figure out your budget. We don't want to start looking into any homes without knowing what you qualify for, what you don't qualify for. And also, there's been a lot of times where there might be something on your credit that you're unaware of, right? So the sooner we start with that, the sooner we can start fixing stuff like that. So get pre-approved and define your search. Together, we'll craft the tailor-made search neighborhood, depending on if you have kids, if you're single, everything like that. We're experts. We all live in the area, and we'll be able to, kind of tailor towards your needs, whether you want to be in a subdivision, you want to resale, or you want some land or whatever like that.
Awesome. The next steps are, we're going under contract. We found your dream home, and then we decide, hey, let's go ahead and put an offer on this. So we're studying the market. We're seeing, hey, this is what the comparable homes are going for. So this is what we can put an offer in. And then after that, there's typically a 7-day, 5 to 10-day option period. 7 is usually the one that we see the most. And during that time, you would hire an inspector that would be an upfront cost, but they're going through the home, making sure everything's okay. And if it's not, we're either negotiating with the seller and getting those repaired or getting a bit of cash back. Or if they're just not working with us, we'll go ahead and cancel the deal and keep looking. That's pretty rare. Usually, once we're under contract, the sellers want to make it work, especially in this market.
All right, steps 5 and 6, the final steps. Closing day, appraisal and financing wrap up, and a final walkthrough confirms the home is ready for you. So this is going to be the step where we make sure that all the issues have been addressed, that we've wanted, whether it be, like here in Texas, air conditioning, AC is always one of the bigger issues, and roofing, right? So we'll make sure, either a few days ahead of time or whatnot, that everything's been addressed. And then if it has, great, we'll go to the closing table, sign and celebrate, and that's where you'll get the keys and you'll be able to start moving into your brand new home or your new to you home. And that's exciting for sure, especially if you've never, this is a home buying workshop. If you've never bought a home, if you're a first time home buyer, it's really exciting to be able to call a place your own.
All right, and with that, let's dive into financing, and Aaron is going to take over.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming today. I appreciate your time very much. A lot of people ask me how long I've been in this business. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, so I can't tell you how many things I've seen that really pop up still in that time frame where a deal can get blown up. So you're about to go to closing, everything sounds great. All of a sudden, the bank comes up to you and says, hey, we need this, we need that. You really can't, I can't explain how important it is to really get the pre-approval and financing right. So when you come to somebody like me, I'm an independent mortgage broker. So I don't work for Chase, Wells Fargo. I'm independent completely. So we go and shop with multiple lenders and try to find you the best rate that's out there. Taking a step back, when you actually enter into this process, you have to make sure you have all of your ducks in a row here. So whenever I first speak to you, I'm going to talk to you and really get a feel for who you are, what your job is, credit score, all those things that really matter. The first thing I'm going to ask you, though, is what can you afford? Like, what mortgage do you feel comfortable with? And on top of that, think about what taxes and insurance are going to have to pay each year. Because really, most of the time, you just have a mortgage, but taxes and insurance aren't included on that. So you really have to think about that. Because over time, those taxes and insurance are going to rise. So thinking about what you can afford is probably the most important step when you're getting pre-approved. The second thing I like to ask people is, are you a W-2 employee? Are you a 1099 employee? So that makes a huge difference, because if you're a W-2, you make $60,000 a year, pretty cut and dry how much you make that year. Yes, there's overtimes and bonuses, but normally we like to just try and use your base salary. We'll only try and use overtime and bonuses if we're just trying to get you approved and we're kind of at the finish line kind of thing. You don't want to have to use that income unless you really have to. If you're a 1099 employee, though, you're your own boss. It's a little different in terms of what you make in terms of income. So let's say you own your own bakery or something and you made $100,000 in net last year. You paid yourself a salary of $50,000, but you took a lot of deductions. So instead of showing over $150,000, it really shows that you made like $10,000. There's nothing wrong with that. That's completely legal. They're called deductions for a reason. You're just trying to not pay as much in taxes. Problem with that is you're not really making $150,000. The bank is going to look at it and say, this guy made $20,000. It's all about what's on your tax returns. So people don't care what you think you made. It's about what they think you made. Another big part of this process I tell people at the beginning is normally the first thing I'm going to need from you to even give you a pre-approval is the last 2 pay stubs, last 2 bank statements, last 2 years of tax returns, and a government ID. And it's really annoying to get all those documents. However, that's just the initial phase. Once you go down more into it, the bank can ask you for anything they want to. And I've had it happen over and over again where they want more documents, and a week out, they'll request something else. I really can't stress to you how important it is to choosing the right lender. A lot of people think Chase, Wells Fargo, everybody's all the same. I just want the cheapest rate. And I totally understand that, because we're in a high interest environment. You're trying to get the cheapest rate that you can. But don't forget, you can always refinance whenever there is a rate drop. Normally, we kind of recommend people to wait until there's a full percentage point, because it doesn't really make sense to refinance with a quarter basis point, something like that. But going back to what I was saying, if you're really close in between it and the rates are the same, you really want to try and choose a better lender, just because if you go with somebody you don't know, it can cause a lot of problems. To give you an example, actually, I had a client, he went over to Chase Bank, right? Chase, one of the world's biggest banks. Literally 3 days out from closing, they asked him for a little more documentation. So whenever you move somewhere, you have to get something called a verification of employment letter from your employer, right? And he had that. It specifically had the offer letter. It had the actual number amount, had everything on it that you're supposed to normally have. And with lenders we work with, that's all you would really need. But Chase was telling him, oh, so we actually need the dean of, you have to sign off it. So it's a fully executed contract. Getting them to sign something like that is extremely difficult. You got to go back to your employer, have the head of the place actually sign off. So basically he had to move his closing, pay a little damages to the actual seller. And it's a really stressful situation. So I really can't stress enough how important it is to look for somebody that actually can help navigate and try and prevent those scenarios. A really, really important thing I talk to people about as well is whenever I'm pulling your credit, we just normally do a soft pull at first, which doesn't affect your credit score. But eventually we're going to have to do something called a hard credit pull. Now, when you're in this process, even before you're about to buy, you don't want to make any large purchases. So if you're going to get a new car, a rental house, you're already in the process of buying here, some big ticket purchase that's going to affect your credit. I've done a soft pull on people, and then 2 weeks later, their credit has completely changed because they purchased an RV. Or, I had a guy one time, he owned a business and he purchased a bunch of dirt for his business. And that was like $50,000 that went onto his credit. It was his business. So it affected his credit. And I just can't explain to you how important it is to not make any sudden moves. Well, this is talking to me first. There's a way you can kind of separate things and put it on your business So I think what you have to look at when you talk to somebody like me, I'm kind of like pretending that I'm the underwriter at the bank first. Because I've seen so many of these deals go through, and so many of them fail, unfortunately. And when you're talking to me, it's important that you're very upfront about everything. Because if I find out later down the line that, oh, you really have 14 other businesses compared to just 2, well, that affects your credit profile. That affects what the bank looks at for you. And you kind of want to be a little bit of it. You don't want to share too much information with the bank if you don't have to. I mean, really, you just want to give somebody what they request, and that's it. You don't want to overshare anything. So that's what we kind of do, is help kind of filter everything out, make sure you're going to qualify. And it's a really high interest rate environment right now. I can't stress that enough. So you want to come to a lender that's going to be able to shop the market for you, really help you get the best rate possible. But again, it's most important that you actually get approved here, and that you can actually get that clear to closing letter as fast as possible. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out. So the first one we have here is conventional. So when you come to me, that's the first one I'm going to look at. Really, it gives you the best flexibility. And believe it or not, though, it actually doesn't have the lowest rates. Even though it's the best loan you could get out there everywhere, it always doesn't have the lowest rates. FHA actually can sometimes have lower rates as well. Just really kind of depends on the person. But for the most part, you do want to try and get a conventional loan. And there's a lot of different reasons as to why, but appraisal, for instance, whenever you go to appraisal, the FHA, VA, USDA, they're all regulated by the federal government, right? So they're all controlled by an organization called HUD, Housing Urban and Division. So if there's any type of issue with the foundation, the roof, some little tweak thing, they're not allowed to actually let the deal go through, because they have to follow those federal guidelines. Whereas conventional, you're not having to follow those federal guidelines. So usually conventional, for the most part, if you're a high credit score, high income earner, normally is the best option. Now, FHA is, I don't want to say it's the best option, but I'm just saying that's where we normally like to start with people. So FHA is a federal housing agency, and this is a part of HUD as well. And for the most part, it usually has lower rates for the most people, and it might be for somebody that has a lower credit score. This is also extremely popular with first-time home buyers. If you're using any type of government program to help make an initial down payment, this is normally kind of a popular option. But again, it has limitations on it, where if I wanted to go buy a condo, right, that condominium building has to be FHA approved in order for me to actually be able to buy that condo. Or with conventional, you don't have limitations like that. But again, for the most part, FHA is actually more commonly used than conventional in this country. So it's not really like it's a worse loan per se. And once again, you can get a cheaper rate sometimes. But it just depends on the buyer, who you are. VA, for the most part, you have to be a veteran, spouse. You have to have some kind of qualification. And the first thing I'm going to actually do is look up your information and then see if you have something called a certificate of eligibility. So when I go into the VA's portal, I can actually see if you qualify for a VA loan. And I've had people that were like, they did join, and for some reason they just didn't qualify. I don't know what happened exactly, but this is a great program, and I love these types of loans if we do qualify, because as a lot of people know, zero down, you don't have to put any down payment for a loan like this. And just take a step back on down payment, the minimum loan for a conventional is 3%, while FHA is 3.5%. So there is no getting around that. Sometimes you can have closing costs help out with that, but that's kind of the general thing. But for VA, there's absolutely no minimum down payment required. It's an absolutely amazing option. And in my experience, usually the rates can be lower than conventional. It just kind of depends for the most part. It's just, what I got to understand is like rates change every single day. It's not like some straight line where it's kind of staying around. It's affected by so many different factors that are really hard to tell. So USDA, another one that's zero down payment as well. However, this is specifically for like rural, some suburban properties as well. You have to have certain standards that you abide by. And this comes from the federal government as well. There's a website you can go on that actually shows you specifically if this is a USDA qualified property as well. There's actually steps you can take if you're like on the border of qualifying. And it's a really good program if you're able to use it. But again, it's all about what your scenario is. And those are the 4 basic loans when you're buying a home for the most part. So moving on and talking about down payment assistance. So the big one in the state of Texas is what's called TSHAC, and that's the Texas State Assistant Housing Corporation. So they'll let you put up to 5% of your down payment coming directly from the state. So I've had a lot of deals where we've actually had the buyer who has good credit, he just doesn't have any money for a down payment. So the state will pick up 5% of that. And then we have an amazing realtor team like Wisdom House who negotiates to get the closing costs covered by the seller credits. So the client is showing up to closing. He really doesn't have to put anything down here. So it's an absolutely amazing program if you can qualify for it. Now, how do you qualify? You have to make less than 80% of whatever county you're in's average household income. So I think Bastrop is like 70, 65,000, something like that in terms of the average household income for a household of 2. So you have to make less than that in order to qualify for this. You also have to have a 620 credit score. So if you have those, you do qualify. But not only that, there's a lot of different programs out there depending on what city, what state you're in. If you're in Harris County in Houston, I know they have a lot of other different programs. Same with Dallas County in Dallas, El Paso, Nueces County, Corpus Christi. It really just depends where you're at. But the more rural county you're in, your pretty much only option is TSHAC, really, for the most part. But if you're in a bigger city, you might have other types of loan, down payment assistance, gift programs that'll help out people like that. So really important you talk to a lender to see what your options are there. The other thing we're going to talk about is what's called gift funds here. So this is actually where, again, you're a first-time home buyer. You don't have any money. You're a young professional. You're just trying to get out there. So who do you go to most of the time? Mom and dad, or uncle and aunt, somebody in your family that just wants to help you out and make sure you get your first home. I had a buyer recently, his dad gave him over $100,000 for a down payment assistance. But it's extremely important that that's documented properly, meaning that you actually have to have a letter from your mom, dad, or whoever specifically saying, I am giving John $100,000 as a gift, because the bank is going to look at your bank account, see that you have 10,000, and then all of a sudden you got 100,000 last night. They're going to question that and be like, what is this? Because they have to have something called know your customer rules. Okay. They have to watch out for fraud, anything like that that can kind of seem that way, drug trafficking, anything like that. They get in big trouble and it's on them. So whenever something like that happens, they automatically get suspicious and like, where did this $100,000 come from 2 days ago? You got a wire all of a sudden. What is that? They need documentation to prove that this is not, drug trafficking or something like that can be nefarious. So it's really important that you talk to a lender if you are going to go down that route. And if it's like international, you need to space things out ahead of time. I had a client from Turkey and he thought I could just transfer money, no problem. It'll be there in like a week or something. But I think it was that week when Turkey's currency crashed. So the banks were doing really bad at the time. And it took about a month or so before we could actually get the funds over here in time. So if it's an international transfer from China, somewhere like that, you really want to have a month or 2 out and make sure the funds get here beforehand, almost before even making an offer, I'd say. I know countries like China, they have currency controls where you're not allowed to transfer X amount of dollars per year. So you have to plan around that and think about that if you're going to use money from family and friends out of the country. Another popular thing we're going to talk about is builder incentives. So there's a lot of new builds and new builders out there that offer amazing incentives. Now, somebody like me, I cannot touch what these guys do. They really bake these incentives into the actual home build. But what I tell people, if you're a first-time home buyer, these are extremely popular programs right now where they're helping you pay for closing costs, basically getting rid of down payments. They're doing things that no independent lender like me can really help you with. But for a lot of people, it's a super popular option. It's almost the option if you're a first-time home buyer, to be perfectly honest with you. I would look to that if I was making my first home purchase right now, simply because if somebody's going to give you $40,000 to cover closing costs, your down payment, and it's a beautiful brand new home, how could you not turn that down? So when you're talking with a lender, they're always updating all kinds of offers that they're doing. To be honest with you, it's a slow market right now. So a lot of builders out there are doing everything they can to entice borrowers. So it's really important that you talk to the amazing Wisdom House team. Just ask them what kind of updated offers are going on, because these are changing daily, just like rates change daily. So highly, highly recommend that you all talk to Wisdom House if you have any questions about builder incentives. And sometimes we can help out on deals like that too. But most of the time, the actual builder has their own lender in-house and they want you to use them. If you ever have questions about any type of builder incentives, anything like that, again, Wisdom House is the people to talk to, and I can really help in that situation.
And I think there's still, while they do use a lot of their own internal lenders, so sorry that we can't use that for that. There are some, though, who are okay with their outside lenders, and at that point, we can definitely have
absolutely
at that point.
But at the end of the day, it's about you, and it's about you getting the best rate, best cash for closing, and you got to look at all your options. So that's what I tell people. It's like, check everything out. New builds, resales. Yeah. Being in a high interest rate environment like this, you don't really have many options, unfortunately. So you really have to think about what is going to get me the best bang for my buck right now. So yeah, definitely come talk to us. So yeah, I really want to thank you guys for your time today. And the real thing that I want to stress today is that, there's a lot of different lenders out there. A lot of different brokers out there. We can all kind of do the same thing. But my whole thing is I'm really big on responding to people as quickly as possible. Because whenever you have a deal like this, any type of mortgage going on, it moves lightning fast. And there is no waiting 48 hours or anything like that. You have to move lightning quick on these deals because they die very quickly. You have to be able to know how to get approved from underwriting. And it's a process. And in today's world, you want somebody that already can get you multiple different rates and help you know you're getting the best rate available. Any questions, please reach out to me. Thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate it very much.
I do want to add something to that. If you're thinking about buying a house within the next year, I do recommend reaching out to a lender just because it can take time. Like, for example, I had first-time home buyers. It took them, they were really interested in getting a home. They had great careers lined up. One of them was a police officer. The other one was Austin Fire, but they had dings on their credit. And it actually took them a year of buckling down, paying down debt, getting with credit repair. Right. And they stayed focused for a year. And within that year, it took them the entire year to end up getting their credit score from a 580 to a 650 with a debt to income ratio. And boom, a year later, we got them into a home. I want to buy a house in 3 months, 1 month, I'll start reaching out. You might not know, you think you can buy a house tomorrow, but the lender might tell us differently, right? If you really want to get into a home, start sooner. And if your credit is good and everything's great, then somebody like Aaron will tell you, oh, cool, you'll be ready in a year. Just keep doing what you're doing. Your credit is solid. Save up that money, whatever, and you'll be good. But if it's not, you might take the entire 6 months to a year to actually get ready or to be ready.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jimmy. And we actually work with a lot of credit repair specialists that sometimes I think that they're 6 to 8 months out and they've saved deals for me literally in 2 to 3 weeks. Just because they knew to go back to the credit repair agency, the credit agencies, say, hey, that shouldn't be on there. We can do this, this, and that. Boom, credit is fixed. But you got to go to somebody like that. That's not something I provide. I just have external contacts we would hook you up with, introduce you to, and help say, hey, can we get this person approved? And I've literally had deals where I thought were completely dead in the water, and my guys got them fixed up. And you got to be really careful with those people too, though, because some of those, they'll charge a lot of money and not do anything. So you really want a good referral on any type of credit repair person for sure. So thank you for that, Jimmy. That's a great point.
Awesome. So thank you so much for going over all that. We're not going to spend too much time on rentals. This is a how to buy a house workshop, but if you're moving to Bastrop for the first time and just want to get to know the area first, renting is a potential good option as well. We've got apartments, condos more so in Austin. There's tons of house rentals. There's mobile homes and RV parks as well. So there are options if you're just moving to Bastrop and not sure where you want to land yet. But yeah, we're going to just briefly touch on that. And next, we're going to jump into the neighborhoods of Bastrop. So I'm going to cover that left side. Jimmy's going to cover the right. And it's lined out basically with how that map is down there. We don't have all the neighborhoods individually on there, but starting kind of on that upper left section is where Double Eagle Ranch is at. And that is broken up into two sections. You have the traditional Double Eagle, which has your larger lots, larger homes on it, not much amenity center specifically with that. And then you have the kind of more neighborhood feel where there are going to be smaller homes on your more traditional neighborhood lots. You're going to have sidewalks going through, and they do have an amenity center. They've got a pool and playground and all that. Double Eagle, it's basically in between Austin and Bastrop off of a back road. So it's got a very like country isolated feel to it, if that is what you're looking for. If you want to be close to everybody, though, that might not be the right neighborhood. Next up, we've got Silverleaf. That one is directly off of 71. If you guys have seen that giant squirrel at the Pecan little shop over there, it's across the street from that. It's a brand new community. They're planning on having it a master plan community, resort style swimming pool, hiking trails, anything and everything that you could want. They're working on getting that built out. They'll also have an elementary school there as well, but it is very early days for there. So if you're looking to get in at ground zero at that neighborhood, now's a great time. Then we've got Railhead. That was a D.R. Horton community. It is all built out, so there's no more new builds in there. It would just be resales. That one is interesting because it doesn't have any mud or PID taxes. So it's got like one of the lowest tax rates that I'm aware of in Bastrop County. The other distinct thing about that neighborhood is you'll see a lot of 3-car garages, and one of those bays is specifically made for like RVs and boats. So it's a super tall garage. So if that's what you're looking for, that could be a great option. That's down off of 21. Moving closer to Bastrop, then we have Adelton. They just broke ground on their amenity center. You've got Empire, and KB Homes is now moving into there as well. And you have Adelton Elementary that is already built and it's up and running. So that community is growing out. And then the Colony. That is probably the largest master plan community in Bastrop. It's broken into two parts. You have the Heritage Colony or the Old Colony. And so that is going to be, your larger homes, your larger lots, no sidewalks. It does have an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a great playground, a little hiking area, basketball courts. It's well done. And then you have the New Colony, which is, oh my goodness, the rest of it. And that is now, they're working on their 5th whole area. The treehouse is what they're calling it. I'm not 100% sure if there'll be a playground next to that, but the other 4 have playgrounds next to it. They've got hiking trails, disc golf course. They've got just about anything and everything over there. It is one of the largest communities in Bastrop, 100%. And you've got a whole bunch of builders in there as well. You've got David Weekley, Perry Homes, Ashton Woods, a ton of others that I should have written down that are not on the top of my head right now. But yeah, lots of different options in there, different price points depending on what you're looking for, different house styles. Right next to the Colony, if you're coming down 969, depending on which way you're going, it's basically just below the Colony, is Valverde. And that is a D.R. Horton community. They've already got their amenity center built out, their swimming pool, playground, pickleball courts. They also have very affordable homes. They are starting in like the 250s for if you're getting a mortgage. And I've heard you can even get some around the like 210s, 220s that you're paying cash. They're basically taking what they're using for an interest rate buy down and applying that to the price of the home. So pretty affordable area. Then you've got Hunter's Crossing. That is right next to the Home Depot area. You've got Hunter Crossing Apartments and then the Hunter Crossing community. That one is a bit of an older community. It's all built out at this point. Not crazy old, but within the past like 10, 15 years is probably when they finished all the homes out. Once again, got a full amenity center, pool, playground, all that fun jazz. Pretty convenient location. And the last on this side before Jimmy takes over is Riverside Grove. That one is all Lennar homes. It doesn't have any kind of amenity center, but once again, a good location, just kind of built by Lennar. You want to Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That is Bastrop Grove. Riverside Grove. So you'll start at Pecan Park. Riverside Grove is behind the HEB. That one is right next to Bob Bryant Park. It is, once again, one of the older neighborhoods that's all completely finished out. So it would just be resales in there. But yeah, pretty solid homes over there. And great location. You're basically right in between the HEB and Bob Bryant Park, which is a fantastic park, riverside access and all that. Jimmy, if you want to take over with Pecan.
Yeah, so Pecan Park is going to be a fairly new community, very nice homes at a great price point. They have a pool, and it's going to be, I think, just south of the Walmart. They're very clean homes, actually. I like going into there and showing homes because A lot of the lawns are well kept. It's very clean, especially if you got a family. It's very family friendly. Next, we'll do Piney Creek Bend. That's going to be in downtown Bastrop, but just north of it. It's still, I think, considered downtown, just not in the heart where the older homes are. But I think that's just the Kaufman Broad homes, and those homes are very nice. And then downtown Bastrop, if you want older style homes that are well kept, I really like cruising them because those homes downtown give you like a Victorian feel or whatever that might even be, but they're very clean, well kept homes. A lot of historical homes too. And then you're going to go over to Tahitian Village, and that's going to be East Bastrop, south of like the new QT and all that right there. Tahitian Village is not going to be your typical subdivision build out with HOA free fees and cookie cutter homes. So there, if you buy a home or if you're looking to build, you're going to have all sorts of different builders and private builds or whatnot. It's not going to be big builder types that are there. So you have a lot of free reign there to buy different style homes, different size lots, stuff like that. It's a very nice little community for sure.
One of the things also about Tahitian that kind of makes it unique is you have riverside access down at the bottom. You know, it doesn't have any amenities, doesn't have sidewalks or anything, but it is probably the most interesting terrain of Bastrop with those hills that are all over the place and the pine trees. You got pine trees, up in the northeast Bastrop, or the area which we'll cover in a second, but just the amount of forested area in Tahitian and the amount of like hilly terrain with very different topography that honestly makes some of those lots unbuildable. So visit the lot before you buy it. But it just makes for absolutely beautiful views as well.
Yeah, you can get some great views there for sure. So if you want a home with views in the trees in the Bastrop area, that would probably be the very first spot I check out for sure. And then you got Cola Vista Country Club, which is southeast of the Tahitian, but still part of Tahitian, kind of, right?
It connects on the back end, but it's a separate community.
And you got river access there. It's pretty cool. It's kind of hard to describe, I think, but if you look it up, there's a lot of pictures, and you also have great views. Like if you're down south of it, of a lot of grass and kind of hills and overlooking the Colorado River. And then you got Circle D, KC Estates, which is going to be north or east Bastrop. Yeah, northeast. You can see it on the map. Those are going to be homes with, acreage, whether it be half acre, 1 acre. And that's not really going to be like the colony area where it's big builders. A lot of small boutique builders and a lot of beautiful homes there in that area too. And you have free reign to kind of have your choice of home versus a cookie cutter. I like that area as well. And you're closer to the Buc-ee's. So if you're moving to Texas, man, closer to the Buc-ee's, the better, I think. And then you got Keller Farms, which will be east of the East Bastrop, almost to Smithville. And that's a nice, beautiful, up-and-coming community. It's limited. It's not going to be huge like a master plan community. It's more small boutique builds. But those houses there, we've done some events there, and those houses are beautiful for sure. You're gonna be looking at about $1 million probably to get into there. But if that's your feel and your vibe, and you're kind of outside of the city a little bit, so it's kind of cool, I think, versus kind of being in the mix. Like me, I live south of Bastrop, about 15 minutes. I like getting out. So if you want the city vibe without really kind of being in the city, that'd be something to look at as well.
Awesome. And, all scattered throughout as well are some smaller homes on larger, smaller lots. Those are just kind of the main, quote unquote, neighborhoods that are out there, but you'll find anything and everything out in Bastrop, depending on what you're looking for. So why buy with Wisdom House? Jimmy, you want to?
Yeah. So why buy with Wisdom House? So we all live local. We are very knowledgeable in the community. We do a lot in the community for sure. I think we're one of the most, the team that's kind of always in.
We're getting involved.
We're getting involved for sure, whether it be like networking events or a lot of little local community stuff. Like last year we hosted National Night Out at Bob Bryant Park, and that was pretty big. So we're getting involved, we're getting out there and just kind of helping make a difference, I think, building community here. And, you got Matt, you got Liana, who will get out there, and they're very knowledgeable with everything that they do. And then you have me, that I specialize in working with veterans, military, stuff like that. And, we kind of all around knowledgeable. I got some investment homes, I've bought, and that's another thing I'll just kind of caveat or touch base on is don't be scared to buy a house, your first house, since this is a home buying workshop. and having to live there forever. The goal is to just kind of break the ice and do something. Like my first house when I moved here, I was there for 8 months before I sold it. I'm not scared to move. I think I'm on my third home right now, and I've been here for 6 years. I'm not scared of the interest rates. It is what it is. So anyways, and touching base with a personalized search, we're really involved in the community. We've sold homes all over Bastrop. So we kind of know, tailored on if you have a family, if you're single or whatever you want to do, we have the neighborhoods for you. And then negotiating, market knowledge between Matt, Liana, everybody else on the Wisdom House team. Being involved in the community, we know what a deal looks like because we're constantly checking the market. We know if it's overpriced, if it's underpriced, a good deal, stuff like that. And ongoing support. We're always here. Ask any of my clients, look at my reviews. I had a client call me the other day, hey, who's a good HVAC guy? And we build good relationships with local vendors. We call them, whether it be roofing, HVAC. I had somebody call me regarding flooring the other day. Cool. Hey, there's a few flooring guys that I've worked with personally. And, we've always got the knowledge. You're not just a one and done customer. We're always here for support for sure. So that's pretty good.
Awesome. So to wrap it up, your next steps, reach out to your local friendly Wisdom House Realtor and we'll link you up with Aaron, get you pre-approved. And then we can start looking at, getting us custom search set up and touring some homes. We'll figure out what that price point looks at, what neighborhood you're liking, and kind of submit the perfect offer depending on what the market's showing. Appreciate everybody who's shown up. Appreciate those who are listening back.
Thanks for listening to the Bastrop Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, follow us on Instagram at Bastrop Podcast and share it with a neighbor. We're here with new conversations from people who make Bastrop feel like home. Got someone you think we should interview? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you.